Alrighty, so I'm a few days behind on this, but the Penguins made a few moves at trade deadline, surprisingly. Ron Hextall did some stuff in order that they might have improved the teams. I mean, I have some thoughts. So, first things first, they traded away Teddy Blueger for, They traded away Teddy Blueger for a third-round pick and Peter Deliberator. Yeah, sorry if I butchered your name. I apologize. Who's in the juniors in the AHL. He's a defenseman who's going to be a nobody. But we got a third-round pick out of it, and we removed $2.2 million in cap space, putting the Penguins cap at just about $6.5 million, right around that area. And then with that $6.5 million, after removing Kasperi Kapanen, who was not doing anything, and moving, what was the other person they moved? Oh, Brock McGinn, who was something that I'll say it's here. But anyway, and moving Brock McGinn, we end up with about $6.5 million or so. And so with that $6.5 million, we traded for not Jacob Chikrin. We traded for Mikael Granlund. Now, admittedly, Chikrin is already off the market, but Chikrin wasn't that expensive, and so I don't really understand this move from the Penguins' standpoint. I don't really get it. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. Like, he's going to be our third line guy when that third line is terrible, and so I don't hate the move. I don't love it. It's a mediocre move at best. Let's see what they're saying about it. Interesting. First thought was Penn's fleece. Second thought was Penn's retirement home. Yeah, I mean, the team is so old, it's ridiculous. It's not even funny how old this team is. This team, the average age of this team, like we traded away a young, 28, I believe how old Teddy Blueger is right here. Yeah, 28-year-old Teddy Blueger for a draft pick and a AHL player, so that wouldn't count against our average age. And then we traded for 31-year-old Mikael Granlund, so that's plus 3 years to the average, not overall, but you take a player and you add 3 years. That's not great. And then we traded, this is where the real fun one began. So we got Nick Bonino, who is 33, 34? Let's see. Nick Bonino is 34. And then we traded for Dmitry Kulikov. We traded Brock McGinn for Dmitry Kulikov. We actually gained salary in that trade. I didn't realize that. But we had to trade away a third and Brock McGinn for Kulikov. I don't hate Kulikov. He's 32, but anyway, we'll talk about each trade individually. So firstly, getting rid of Teddy Blueger. Teddy Blueger was our fourth line center, and we traded him away to open up cap space. That's what it was. That's what the whole deal was. I think I already talked about this a little bit, but it was a cap move. It was a move to just open up cap space in order to make some moves happen. Because clearly this team was not going to be the team that wins the Stanley Cup. So, with that being said, if you look at his numbers, let's go down to right here. In 45 games with the Penguins, he had 2 goals, 8 assists for 10 points, was a plus-minus of -7. That's not good. That's not what you're looking for. Yes, he's the fourth line player, and that's how much can you ask out of a fourth line player? But he's still somebody that you needed to be able to make plays. He's somebody that you need to be able to make plays, and that's the reality of it. He wasn't that guy. He was not being that guy for the Penguins this year. He was not able to score worth a darn. One of these goals came in the last week. So up to this last week, he in like 40 games, he had 1 goal, 8 assists for 9 points in 40 games. I'm not expecting you to be a 20, 30, 50-point scorer. I just need you to get something going. So he was not being that guy for the Penguins, like I said. So I don't hate the move of trading him for a third and a depth defenseman for that. Hey, guess what? Penguins have a future now. For a future player, which I don't hate. That's all right with me. And then the second trade they made, as we talked about, wrong thing again, was we acquired Mikael Granlund. This was the trade I don't understand. I'm not going to be near as hard on him as all the other sports podcasters talking about the Penguins are. It's not that bad. However, it's not that good either. So, while it isn't as bad as I think they're saying, it's not terrible. So, the biggest issue, and this is a fair issue that everybody has had, is he is on a $5 million contract for the next 2 seasons after this one. That's how bad his cap is. Let's see if I can pull it up. There, right here. So his cap is the next 2 seasons is going to be $5 million, $6 million, and $5 million. And the biggest thing is we traded a second-round pick for the Predators to not retain any of that. Any of it. So we are taking on $16 million over the course of the next 3 years. Huh? That makes no sense to me. Why would we make that trade? That trade doesn't I get it. He's honestly the biggest thing I want to say. He is a piece that will help that third line. The third line needed rejuvenated. I think this means that you could throw Carter on the wing. You could put him at center. You could put Carter at center, put him at wing. You could even go so far as to move around Danton Heinen. You can move Drew O'Connor to that line, get a Drew O'Connor, Granlund, and Carter line going. You could move Bonino up to the third line and move Carter to the fourth line. There's a lot of things you could do now that you have some more fluidity. You don't necessarily have you don't have a Kasperi Kapanen and Brock McGinn on that line, who they would tried to send both to the minors. So Brock McGinn and Kasperi Kapanen, I do think that Granlund is a step up from McGinn and Kapanen. And for those who don't know, Kapanen was claimed on waivers by the Blues, and McGinn was sent to the minors and then traded for Dmitry Kulikov, who we'll get to in a minute. And then up next we have, as I already spoiled, Nick Bonino. Nick Bonino, who is a former Penguin, who was on the back-to-back cup runs and has never lost a round in Pittsburgh. So, not to say that he's never going to, but this trade I like a lot more. I understand, it's probably not a good trade for the Penguins. So, because you had we traded a 5th and a 7th. That's what we got. The 5th and the 7th, that's all we gave up for Nick Bonino, who we had to take on the 1.025 cap, so half his cap, which is not bad. So we traded away the 5th and the 7th. San Jose traded us 5th to the Canadiens in order to take half of the cap, and we took Nick Bonino. And with the Nick Bonino trade, I like it. Again, it adds depth. I think he's supposed to be the fourth line center, basically replace Blueger, because Ryan Poehling, who I think when they traded Blueger away, they thought he was going to be back, is still going to be out for a while, from what I understand, which is disappointing. But at least they're making moves, and that's all I keep. I am just thrilled he made any moves. I get the frustration of the Granlund move, and I do. But he is going to be a piece, and he may be that person who needed a change of scenery. For example, like Mike Matheson or CC. I don't remember what his first name is, but the CC, who was in Toronto and then went to the Penguins and then went to the Oilers. It was not as good as the Oilers. He was not great on Toronto, better on the Penguins, not great in Edmonton. So perhaps Granlund can do that over the next few years. And like I was pointing out, Granlund is not a bad player. In his career, he has 731 games played, and in those games played, he has 479 points. Basically a point a little under every 2 out of every 3 games. A little over, actually. A little over every 2 out of 3 games. So, really, that's not bad numbers. That's not 479 goals. He's only a -4 in his career, which you don't love to see. But in Pittsburgh, he hasn't done a ton, However, he hasn't minus anything. So that means that third line hasn't given up any goals when he's been on the ice. That's a good sign. That is a good sign. Because that third line was when you would see we would just go up a goal, they put the third line out there, and then suddenly we'd be tied again. Because the third line would give up a goal. Now, you could argue that's part of the defense, but the whole team has to play some defense. So, I'm not opposed to this trade. We'll see how it goes overall. However, I do get the complaint of they couldn't retain any salary. You're telling me this was your guy? This was the guy that you thought would fix the Penguins? Yeah, I get the frustration. But at the same time, I don't think it needs to be as frustrated as they were making it. But anyway, back to the Bonino thing. I like the Bonino trade. I think it's a fun trade almost. But he'll fill the role he'll need to. They did lose the first game with him. However, I think he'll be an important piece. And now for Dmitry Kulikov. Dmitry Kulikov, is a fine trade. You traded Brock McGinnon and a third-round pick for Dmitry Kulikov, who's a rental. The third-round pick might have been the same pick we got in the Devils trade. No, I don't think so. So I think it's our own third-round pick. So yeah, because that's a fourth. So it's a third-round pick from next season. So in this trade, you basically gain $500,000 in cap, which is nice. So that's in of itself, that's great. You got rid of Brock McGinn's salary for the future. So even at worst, you gain $500,000 from this trade. Okay, fine. You get $500,000. I'm all right with it because you lost just over $1 million in the Bonino trade, and you lost $5 million in the Predators trade. So if you think about the math, we probably have about $1.5 million left, give or take a little bit. No, probably just about $1 million. Just about $1 million in cap space. So, that being said, in this trade, you got Dmitry Kulikov. Who is Kulikov? He played for the Anaheim Ducks, who have been terrible this year, and their defense has been awful. This season alone, he has a minus 11 because. Well, he has a minus 11, even though he scored 15 points. The thing is, Anaheim is just a really, really, really bad defensively. They really are. They're just straight up awful defensively. That's kind of how they're trying to tank for Bedard, is they're straight up awful. So what the Penguins need to do is... I thought this was a great trade because, again, at worst, you freed up $500,000 in cap space, and then in the offseason, you can use it to re-sign. You can re-sign Jari, you can re-sign Zucker, and you re-sign whoever else you need to at that point. So I don't hate that move, and I think at worst, I think maybe you could even work on, if he doesn't seem like a fit, trading away Granlund. But yeah, so that's primarily all the trades that they made. Like I said, if I'm going to rank them all, I would rank the Kulikov trade probably an A. The Bonino trade probably a B. Probably give him a B. You only took on that salary for a fifth and a seventh. I'll give it an A as well. The Granlund trade, I'll give a C minus. And the Blueger trade, I'll give a B. I think you probably could have gotten more for Blueger, but he couldn't produce it all this year. So, only trade I really don't like is the Granlund trade. I don't hate the Bonino trade. He's going to, like I said, maybe he doesn't lose around in Pittsburgh for the rest of his career. That'd be awesome. More cups, please. I'll take it. But that's the thing. You're trading to see what you can do at this point. And now I want to look at the Penguins player stats and talk about why we have the issues. So let's scroll down to the bottom. I want to go to plus minus. So the lowest plus minus players in terms of forwards were Jeff Carter at minus 10. Brian Rust at minus 6 is surprising. These two and Gino at minus 6 is surprising. And then it was... I know because when I were on the team, it was Kapanen with like a minus 7 and Brock McGinn with like a minus 12. It was not good. So, adding in Mikael Granlund to that area where at least they're going to cement themselves, hopefully, as just they're going to hold their ground. That's what we need on those bottom lines. Those bottom lines, we need somebody who's just going to hold their ground and not allow a goal and just keep in the game, letting somebody like, Sidney Crosby carry the team. Letting the team that you built, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang, let them create offense. And then let those lower players at least keep the team alive. Yes, Nick Bonino, we think of him as the goal scorer. That's great. However, we just need somebody to keep them in the game. And that's what it comes down to. We can't be allowing those late second goals. And I think overall, these aren't bad moves. I think they're a bit strange. Not what I would have wanted. I wanted Jacob Chychrun. I wanted Brock Besser. I wanted Tyler Bertuzzi. I didn't really want Brock Besser, but I wanted Connor Garland. But guess what we got? Mikael Granlund, Nick Bonino, Dmitry Kulikov. But at least they made some moves and they didn't just sit on their hands and be like, this team's good enough. They can win. But they don't. Yes, they have a good record when everybody's healthy, but they haven't been able to stay healthy. You can't rely on a good record when everybody's healthy if they can't get healthy and stay healthy. I like the trades overall. Like I said, I think overall I would give this trade deadline a B-. I think the Granlund trade is just disgusting. However, overall, not a terrible idea. And tonight against the Blue Jackets, you're going to have Dmitry Gavrikov play for his first game. He's going to be paired with, in the bottom line, with Jan Ruda. And so that bottom pairing, so you're going to have the top pairing be Chris Letang, Brian Dumoulin, the middle pairing be Petrie and Pettersson, and the bottom pairing be Ruda and Kulikov. Unfortunately, that means we're going to have P.O. Joseph be healthy scratch. However, I heard something today on a different podcast that was saying that they overall might end up putting Dumoulin as a scratch and might put Kulikov in that spot, and they're just kind of playing with it tonight. I don't hate it. You're playing the Blue Jackets. While you can't take them lightly, you can't take them lightly, but you're the better team. So you have a little bit of flexibility. That being said, make sure you get it done tonight. That would be terrible. So anyway, I'm going to make my predictions for who I think each line will be. So I think that top line, who the top line is going to be, the line is going to be going to the playoffs, not just what I think is going to happen tonight, because I know Kulikov is going to start in the bottom line tonight. But here's what I think is going to happen. You're going to have the top line be untouched, Sid, Gensel, and Raquel. I think you're going to have that second line be Zucker, Malkin, and Rust. I feel like those two lines have, I know they bounced Raquel and Rust back and forth, but I really believe that Crosby, Raquel, and Gensel, and Malkin, Zucker, and Rust will be the best pairings there. And then I do believe that Granlund is going to end up with that center job. Carter's going to be the wing, and this is where it gets tough. I think it's going to stay as Heinen at that third line. I think that will be the third line going forward. And then finally, I do believe it's going to be O'Connor, Archibald, and Bonino. And then, if Poehling gets healthy, I actually hold the opinion that you're going to end up seeing Carter become a winger. You're going to see Bonino become a healthy scratch, and you're going to see Poehling as the center. Now, I would love nothing more than to see Carter get scratched. Not because I don't like him, but because I think it would be better off for their team as a whole if Carter would be a scratch for a game or two, and then he can come back if he's healthy, and it would be awesome. But for now, I think that is the best plan. And then defensively, I do think they're going to end up with what I mentioned already, where the top line is going to be Letang and Dumoulin. Second line is going to be Petrie and Pettersson, and then the third line is going to be Ruda and Kulikov. And maybe you see Dumoulin get scratched for Kulikov, or you just rest Kulikov and you start Joseph. I don't know how that, those three are going to play out, but that will be what we happen to find out as we go along. Overall, I think this team made some improvements. I don't think they're going to be perfect. They're obviously not going to win every game. We're not the Bruins. However, I think it was a good trade deadline. It was an important trade deadline. And they did what they had to do. And that's going to do it for today for this video. I know it's been a while since I posted it. I'm going to try to start posting on an almost daily basis. However, not daily, but on a weekly basis. However, with school and work and everything else I have to do in my life, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. So I will have to we'll have to see what happens there.